Hello, my name is Carter Kirchhevel, and I have a show called Catching Up with Carter on Thursdays from 10 to 11 a.m. on Saddleback College Radio 88.5 HD2. Check out and subscribe down below if you'd like to see more recordings of this show and to see my NFL and college football takes.
Did you miss your football games this week? Do you need to catch up? Welcome to Catching Up with Carter here on Saddleback College Radio. Thursdays at 10, he will recap it all.
Hello and welcome to Catching Up with Carter here on Saddleback College Radio 88.5 HD2. Again, my name is Carter Kirchhevel, and welcome to Catching Up with Carter, where we recap all Los Angeles sports. We will cover the Rams, Chargers, Raiders, and 49ers games. And for college, we will cover USC, UCLA, and of course, Saddleback College Football. It's a crazy week 3 of the NFL and college football, and for Saddleback, we will go over all of that here in just a minute. Our next song is Still Here by Lecrae. Make sure to come back in just a few minutes as we get going with our recaps. Again, you're listening to 88.5 HD2 Saddleback College Radio, Catching Up with Carter. Hello and welcome back to Catching Up with Carter here on 88.5 HD2 Saddleback College Radio, as we are going to get right into our NFL recap as we start with the Rams. And of course, due to it being a 49ers-Rams game, we are going to go over the 49ers.
Trophy on the beat. Bang, bang, Niner gang. Bang, bang, Niner gang. Bang, bang, Niner gang.
Now, going through this game, we're going to be starting off with kind of just how it felt, how it was going, and just how this game turned out. And so our prediction last week was 28-17. The 49ers would win due to the amount of injuries just on the offensive side for both teams, and it ended up not being that way as the final score was 27-24 Rams. So we're going to start off with our game recap. The 49ers, they start with a Jennings wide open touchdown catch to start the game 7-0. So the 49ers, they start off strong. Then the Rams, they're forced to punt on the first drive. Then there's another touchdown pass from Purdy to Jennings. It's 14-0. Then that's just the end of the first. It's 14-0. The 49ers are up 14-0. 14 points. They're up 2 touchdowns. Seems like they have this game in the bag. Then the Rams are forced to punt right back, but the 49ers, they punt it right back as well. The Rams then drive all the way down the field and score off a flip from Kyren Williams. He actually flipped over the defender. It was actually a pretty funny type of touchdown, but he did score off of that run. Then the 49ers, they fumbled and turned the ball over. The Rams then run the clock out for halftime, and that's the end of the half, 14-7. Then right after that, Jennings gets another touchdown. That's 3 touchdowns on the day for Jawan Jennings. He had 46 points in fantasy this week. So that's 21-7. The Niners are up 21-7. Rams get a touchdown from Kyren right back. It's now 14-21. And that's the end of the third. End of the third, the Niners are up. It's fourth quarter. 49ers get a field goal to extend the lead 24-14. The Rams then also respond, getting a field goal 17-24. Jake Moody misses a field goal. I swear, he misses a field goal every single time that it truly matters. But it's just how it is. And then Kyren, he runs it in to tie the game at 24. So it's 24-24. 49ers have to punt. Then a deep pass gets the Rams into field goal range. They hit a field goal to bring it up 27-24, and that's it. That was the end of the game, and the Rams won. The Rams got a win here today, or this last weekend, sorry, and the Rams, they just showed why they're a better team. And I mean, the Niners, without CMC, without Debo, without Kittle, there's basically nothing. I mean, what I will say is Purdy played amazing. He had almost 300 yards, 137 passer rating, just a great game from him. So Purdy proved himself. Jordan Mason played a good game. Jawan Jennings played a good game. It's just couldn't finish it, just couldn't get it done. It was just not how you wanted to see the end of the game. And so the Rams, they're still struggling as Nakua is still on IR for a minimum of 2 more weeks. And Cooper Kupp, he's also injured still. So we don't know what's going on there. And as we were assuming it's a high ankle sprain, he's probably going to miss more time. And for fantasy football, Colby Parkinson, I know that this last week he didn't get a ton of targets, but it started to improve. He had 5 points in fantasy, so maybe he's a good pick. And Jawan Jennings, if he is still up, I would go and pick him up. Even with Debo coming back next week, I think Jawan's going to be a big target, as Brandon Ayuk had none of the footballs thrown to him. So I think that Jawan Jennings is going to have a great rest of the season. So we're going to go through the predictions here. The Rams versus the Bears, they play at 10 a.m. this week. I think 24-20 Rams win. I know that that's a little bit closer than probably people believe it's truly going to be. And for the 49ers, we're going to look here. And the 49ers, they play the Patriots at 105 this weekend. And so 31-14 is my prediction. The 49ers will win. I know that it's tough. Christian McCaffrey was placed on IR, so he'll be out till week 6. And Debo, I don't know. I think he's going to be back this week. I believe he is. And George Kittle, I don't know when he'll be back either. So we'll have to see how it goes. And I mean, Purdy still, he played pretty well, and the Patriots have had a decent defense and decent team. So we'll have to see how it goes. I truly think that it'll be better. I think that the Niners themselves will have a better week, but we'll just have to see. I don't know how it's going to go, and it's going to be just an interesting week. I don't know how the 49ers are going to bounce back. And I think the Rams, they proved to why they're a great team and a great roster. So that's the end of our 49ers and Rams recap. We're going to be going into next, the Chargers. Now, for the Chargers, we had a prediction this last week that the Chargers were going to win against the Steelers in a close game, 17-10. Ended up not going that way. The Steelers ended up winning 20-10. We did get one of the numbers right, but it was the wrong team. So 20-10, the Steelers did end up winning, and so we're going to go through a game recap here. Right away at the beginning, a few punts for both teams. Then the Chargers start with a touchdown pass to Johnston. Quentin Johnston showing why he is going to be that number one receiver for the Chargers, probably for this year and probably next as well. He played pretty well. 7-0. End of the first. Steelers then have a long drive capped off by a Justin Fields touchdown run off a read option. It's tied at 7. Then the Chargers have to settle for a field goal, 10-7. The Steelers are then forced to punt back. The Chargers punt it right back to them again. Then the Steelers, they miss a field goal right before halftime to tie it. Very, very weird miss from Chris Boswell. He usually does not miss those. Then the Steelers end a big drive with a field goal, which ties the game at 10. Then the Chargers struggle and are forced to punt. The Chargers get a pick off of Justin Fields off of a few bobbles, meaning Justin Fields, for me, I watched this game, and Justin Fields really did not play the best. They really used him more as a running back and as a decoy player. I didn't really see him more as a quarterback in this game. He played a better quarterback game last week. This one was just not it. Then Herbert, he's forced to leave the game. He gets hurt, and Heineke has to come in and finish the game, and that was it for them. Chargers have to punt it right back. That's the end of the third. Boswell hits a field goal to gain the lead, 13-10. The Chargers have to punt off a TJ Watt sack. I mean, it's Taylor Heineke back there. And then there's a Calvin Austin long touchdown to extend the lead 20-10. And the Chargers punt the ball back, and that's it. And I mean, for myself, watching this game, it's just a sad moment for the Chargers, as I thought they were going to have that just good start of the season. And now with Herbert being hurt and Joe Alt is now also hurt, they're both probably going to miss time. And it's going to be a very sad just start to the season. I thought they weren't going to have any injuries, and it just ended up that they did. And so, again, for fantasy football, J.K. Dobbins, if you don't have him in, I don't understand why you don't. He had a bad week this last week, but I think he's going to bounce back. And Quentin Johnston, if you need someone to throw into your flex spot, put him in. And so for this next week, the Chargers will play the Chiefs. And without Herbert, without Joe Alt, I think it's going to be 27-7 Chiefs win. The Chiefs have been on a roll. And so that's just the end of my Chargers recap. I don't know what else to say. I feel bad for Chargers fans. I hope that we just get a bounce back from Justin Herbert after he comes back from his injury. And next and finally, we are going to be going into the Raiders.
Raider Nation, stand up!
And so for the Raiders, we had a prediction that it was going to be 31-10 Raiders this last weekend against the Panthers. The Panthers have just been struggling all season, and it didn't seem like the same Raider team. And so this game just showed why the Raiders are struggling. They do not seem to be clicking with Gardner Minshew. Last week I thought it was starting, but it just really wasn't. And so 36-22 was the final score. The Panthers won. And this is just a crazy statistic to me that Andy Dalton is the only quarterback in the league to throw 300 yards and 3 passing touchdowns. And that's Andy Dalton. And he just came in for the Panthers. And the Panthers had over 300 yards in the passing game. It's crazy. And so the Panthers, we're just going to go right into this recap. Panthers score a touchdown off a running back screen to Chuba Hubbard. 7-0. The Raiders are then forced to punt. Then a great swat on defense forces a punt from the Panthers. Then the Raiders, they score a touchdown off a Madison run up the middle, and showing why Alexander Madison might be a good pick for fantasy football, as he's been getting a lot of just the carries and the targets. That's the end of the first quarter. Then the Panthers get a good passing touchdown in the corner to the end zone for a touchdown, 14-7. The Raiders then go for it on 4th down and don't get it, turning the ball over. Then the Panthers have to punt. Raiders punt it back. Panthers then punt, and Raiders punt. See that? 4 punts all in a row. Not very exciting in that second quarter. Then a deep touchdown pass to Adam Thielen to extend the lead 21-7. That's halftime. Just a struggling first half for the Raiders. Then right away, the Raiders have to punt right after half. Panthers get a field goal 24-7. Then the Raiders punt. Panthers score another field goal 27-7. Raiders punt yet again. Panthers score another touchdown but miss the 2-point conversion. It's 33-7. End of the third. Then a deep throw to Jacoby Myers gets a touchdown and a 2-point conversion, 15-33. Then the Panthers punt. Panthers pick it off of Minshew. Panthers get a field goal 36-15. Raiders score a touchdown 36-22, and the Panthers ran the clock out. It's crazy. The Panthers, they played a great game, just crushing them, and that was it. And the Raiders, they have some issues. And Antonio Pierce, he had some comments after the game, and I'll just say it here. He says, as the game went on, I think there was definitely some individuals that made business decisions and will make business decisions going forward as well. So we'll see how it goes with Antonio Pierce. I don't know what's going on over in that organization. I watched Instagram Live yesterday, did not seem the most happy to be there, so we will just have to see. And so for my prediction this coming week, it's at a 125 slot game, and they're playing the Browns. And I do believe that the Raiders will bounce back. I know it sounds like an interesting pick, and a lot of you might be asking, but I do think that the Raiders versus the Browns, 27-24, the Raiders are going to win. The Browns have been struggling a lot more than the Raiders this season, so we'll just have to see. And so that is the end of our football recap. I know it was a little bit shorter than normal, but these games were just not, to be honest, as exciting as we hoped for this week. But we have some great games to be excited for, as we are going to be talking next about college football. Again, you are listening here on 88.5 HD2 Saddleback College Radio. My name is Carter Kirchhevel, and you're listening to Catching Up with Carter. Next, we're going to be listening to Alter by Forrest Frank and Hovley, and then we will get straight into our college football recap. Hello and welcome back to Catching Up with Carter here on Saddleback College Radio, 88.5 HD2. My name is Carter Kirchhevel, and we're going to get right into this college football recap, as we had 2 great games with USC versus Michigan and LSU versus UCLA. So we're going to be starting with the USC Trojans. And now for USC, we predicted last week that USC was going to keep the win streak alive, as we predicted 27-24. USC wins and keeps that streak alive, but ended up being the opposite, 24-27 Michigan. One of the best games I think I've watched this season was this one between USC and Michigan. So we'll go through this game recap, as right away Michigan has to punt on their opening drive. USC had some great defense in this matchup. USC then punts it right back. Then Michigan gets stuffed and has to punt again. So a few punts to start the game, and then USC also has to punt. So 4 punts to start, but just great defense from both sides. Then Michigan scores off a long touchdown run from Mullins to the left to start the game 7-0. That's the end of the first. Then USC, they have to punt right away, and Michigan scores off another touchdown run to the left from Donovan Edwards to extend the lead 14-0. Then USC has to settle for a field goal 3-14. Michigan has to punt, but USC has horrible field position for their last drive before halftime, and USC doesn't have time to get anything done before half off a big sack from Michigan, and that's half. It's 3-14. It ended up looking like it just wasn't the game for USC, but it ended up the second half, they started to light it up as Moss starts the second half with a touchdown pass to the wide open Deuce Robinson, bringing it closer 10-14. USC then force a punt. Then Moss throws a pick six as Branch backs up too far off his route. If you watch this play, ends up being a pick six, but Moss, he throws a perfect ball, but Zachariah Branch, he backs up, and the defender just jumps right in front of him and takes the ball and gets that pick, but then ended up missing the extra point try was Michigan, and it ended up being 20-10. Then off a long USC run and a scuffle of multiple fumbles back and forth, but it was recovered by Marks. USC gets a wide open touchdown throw to Jay Fair, 17-20. If you go watch Only Us on YouTube from USC, you can see Woody Marks. He talks about that play where he ended up, it was just horrible. It was multiple fumbles, but ends up that he just stole the ball out of the hands of the defender and gets the ball back, and they ended up scoring off it. Then USC, they force another punt right before the end of the quarter, and USC then, sadly, after the third quarter ends, they have to punt it right back to Michigan. But Michigan, they also punt. Then USC again punts. Michigan fumbles the ball, and USC recovers off a great defensive play from Gentry, and it ended up being right on like the 20-yard line for USC, and they score off a deep touchdown pass to Jacoby Lame. Ended up being 24-20 as they take the lead. Then USC stuffs Michigan and forces them to punt, but USC, they have to punt it right back, and Mullins, he gets a long touchdown run for Michigan to set up a fourth down touchdown run from Mullins to just lead the game. It's 27-24 now, and they take the lead, 3-point lead, and USC, they cannot get the first down on 4th and 9. The game is over. Just a crazy game as great runs, and as you saw, it was just crazy back and forth. As for me, even reading it was just crazy, and going back and forth in this game, Mullins had a great game for Michigan, showing why he should be that second running back over at Michigan behind Donovan Edwards, and USC, they should have their heads high. They are now 2-1 on the season. It was a great, hard-fought game that showcased just how good the defense was for USC. And Moss, even with the interception, he threw 3 touchdowns to 3 different wide receivers. And there's still a great season ahead, and hopefully being in that 12-man playoff. And so USC, they play Wisconsin at 12:30 p.m. Saturday. And the prediction for me, 34-20, USC wins. I think that USC will get back on track. They'll get a win, but I think it'll be a little bit closer than people would probably believe. And so that's the end of our USC recap. We're going to go right into UCLA. And so for UCLA, we had a prediction last week. As they're playing LSU, a top-rated team, we said 17-34, LSU wins. And this is going to sound crazy, but if you go back to the show, I predicted that, and the final score was 17-34, LSU wins. So we're calling that prediction
nice.
It was just an amazing prediction. I call it my golden prediction for the week. So we'll go through the recap here as Garrett, he starts off strong with some great passes, and it's capped off with a running touchdown from Thomas to start 7-0 for LSU. Then Garbers, he has a great first drive, and Jack Peterson, the tight end, gets the touchdown grab to tie it at 7. So seemed like a good start for Garbers and for UCLA. Then LSU, they're forced to punt. UCLA has an all right drive, but settle for a field goal, 10-7, and that's the end of the first. So UCLA, they're up 10-7 right away in the first quarter. And then Nussmeier, he throws a deep pass to Kyle Parker on the left sideline, and it's crazy. If you go back and watch this play, I could not believe that this was caught, but just a perfect pass from Garrett Nussmeier, and Kyle Parker catches it right in that heavy coverage and scores a touchdown to bring it 14-10. Then UCLA is forced to punt. LSU then punts it right back. Garbers gets strip sacked on the missed block and turns the ball over. it was a struggle. Just the turnovers from Garbers have been the struggle for UCLA. Then LSU, they settle for a field goal off of the fumble, 17-10. Then Garbers finds Loya for a touchdown with 2 seconds left in the first half. It's 17-17 going into halftime, seeming like it would be a good, just UCLA had the momentum, seeming like it was over. Not really over, but seemed like that LSU was losing the momentum on their side. And then it just kind of all went to just horrible. It just went horrible. And so UCLA, they have to punt on their first drive. Williams scores a touchdown off of a pass interference call in the end zone to take the lead 24-17 for LSU. Then UCLA has to punt, and that's the end of the third quarter. Durham then scores a touchdown off a running back screen to extend the lead 31-17. Then Garbers throws an interception and turns the ball over yet again, and LSU settles for a field goal 34-17. Then UCLA, they have to punt, and LSU runs the clock out on the final drive and final score. And, I mean, Garbers, he looked better in this game than he has all season, but he had a great first half, but struggled in the second with 2 turnovers. And it's just still not great from him. And I'm hoping that Eric Bieniemy can get something done. And so my prediction for this next week is they're playing Oregon. UCLA versus Oregon at 8 p.m. Saturday. 41-17 Oregon. I don't see it really happening. I think maybe some points as we had this last week, maybe that 17-point mark. But it's been a struggle for Ethan Garbers and just for UCLA in general. And so next, we're going to go into a little bit more positives as Saddleback Football. We're going to be going into their second win on the season as they get their first road win against Antelope Valley in a great fashion, winning 44-28. Saddleback is now 2-1 on the season. Saddleback was scoreless in the first, but scored 3 touchdowns in the second quarter, taking an early lead and kept it till the end. And Kakuk, he was 15 for 18 with 156 yards and 2 touchdowns, with one of them going for 48 yards to Braden. And so Braden, he had just a 48-yard reception and it was just crazy. And he had 4 receptions for 30 yards. Just a crazy game. And same with Dane Benedict's. He had a great game for them on the receiving end. And this next game is on Saturday. Homecoming game is this Saturday, the 28th at 6 p.m. I know that Chad Dowdy, he'll be doing the call on the radio. So check that out on this Saturday at 6 p.m. And that'll be the end of our college football recap. It's been a crazy week of football for our LA teams and for our college teams. And so next, we're going to be going into all of our NFL recap of our predictions and what had happened this last week of how my predictions actually turned out. You're listening here to Catching Up with Carter Kirchhevel on 88.5 HD2 Saddleback College Radio. Next, we're going to be listening to Never Get Used to This by Forrest Frank yet again, and I'll be back in just a few to go over all of our predictions for the NFL. Hello and welcome back to Catching Up with Carter here on Saddleback College Radio, 88.5 HD2. And so we were just listening to Blessings by Lecrae, and now we're going to be looking into our full NFL recap for last week and our full NFL predictions for next week. So we're going to start off right away with last week's Thursday Night Football, as it was the Patriots versus the Jets, and the prediction we had was 24-17 Jets, and the Jets won 24-3. We call that a nice prediction. And so with that prediction, we just see that the Jets, they're starting to just play like they're supposed to. I mean, Aaron Rodgers is playing great, and Garrett Wilson's having that connection. So we're going to go right into Sunday football. And starting with our 10 a.m. games, the Giants versus the Browns, we had a prediction 27-20 Browns, and the Giants, they ended up getting their first win, 21-15. So that prediction was try. So it was just not how we expected. And so, I mean, Malik Neighbors is absolutely wild. He is playing so well. And so Neighbors, he's proving why he should have been drafted in the first round. And the other wide receivers need to look up to that. And so Marvin Harrison Jr. has been playing great too, but Neighbors has been playing amazing as well. Next is Bears versus Colts. The prediction we had, 27-17 Colts, and the Colts won 21-16. So that prediction was nice. And so it was just a good game in general. I mean, the Bears, to be honest, they're just struggling. They don't really have a good offensive line, and Caleb Williams isn't looking good. Same with Anthony Richardson. He's not looking good either, but they ended up pulling off the win in this one. And the next game is the one that I've been talking about a lot. I posted on my Instagram as well saying we're going to be talking about the Vikings, and this was the Texans versus Vikings. I had the upset of the week. I said 24-20 Vikings, and the Vikings won handedly 34-7. So that prediction was
nice.
And for me today, I'm actually wearing my Chad Greenway jersey here in the studio. And the Vikings, they ended up just playing great. Sam Darnold is an amazing quarterback, comeback player of the year, in my opinion. I think he went from basically the slumps, and he was in a slump for the last 2 years. And even with them, I mean, he's 3-0. He's 3-0 now, throwing amazing just to everybody. And I mean, the offense has been great. The defense has been great. It's been great all overall. Going to the next, Eagles versus Saints. Prediction was 28-20 Saints. I thought they would keep up the streak, and it ended up not happening as the Eagles won 15-12. So that prediction was try. And so it was just not the way you wanted that game to go. The Eagles, they ended up winning, but just barely, not really the way you wanted to see. Next, Broncos versus Buccaneers. Prediction, we had 31-14 Buccaneers. And the Broncos won 26-7. So that prediction was try. And I mean, it was just not the way you expected it. The Broncos, they just couldn't get it done. Or not the Broncos, sorry, the Buccaneers. They just couldn't get it done. They didn't really have anything going for them. Baker Mayfield did not look good in this game. And the Broncos, Bo Nix played well. He had a rushing touchdown. I mean, he played pretty good in this game. Then we're going to the next, Packers versus Titans. And the prediction, 24-20 Packers. As this is Malik Willis as his game to get back against the Titans. And the final score, 30-14. The Packers won. So that prediction was
nice.
Just a good game overall from Malik Willis and a good game overall from the Packers. Going into the 1 p.m. games, Dolphins versus Seahawks. Prediction 27-14 Seattle, as the Dolphins just had nobody, and the game ended up being 24-3 Seahawks, as it just did not, the Dolphins couldn't get anything done. So that prediction was
nice.
Just a great prediction from myself. I'm just messing. I think it would have been a little bit better if it was a little bit closer of a score. But, I mean, the Dolphins, they just couldn't do anything. They played awful. I mean, Skylar Thompson looked awful. I think they need to pick up somebody. I think going for Ryan Tannehill might be a good pickup. Maybe trading for somebody might be good either. I mean, there's still, the trade deadline is far away. I think trading for somebody now might be a good option, as Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, they barely even got the ball either. I think Mike McDaniel needs to get something done on the offensive side. Next game, Lions versus Cardinals. Prediction 31-27 Cardinals. Final score 20-13. The Lions ended up winning. So that prediction was try. Cardinals just couldn't get it done, and the Lions, they ended up just playing a great game. And, I mean, I said Jameson Williams was going to be a good pickup. He really didn't play that well, so maybe not trust me on that one. But, I mean, Jameson Williams still, I think he'll be a bounce-back player this coming week. I think the Lions, they're looking pretty good, but, I mean, they're 2-1 now, so they are finally getting up there. But, I mean, the Vikings, they're still number one in that division. Next was Ravens versus Cowboys. I predicted that the Ravens were going to start 0-3, and the prediction was 34-17 Cowboys, and ended up being 28-25 Ravens. So that prediction was try. Not very good for me on these games on Sunday, as the Ravens ended up winning a very close game. And feed Derrick Henry. He is doing everything for that offense over in Baltimore. And Sunday Night Football was Chiefs versus Falcons. My prediction was 24-17 Chiefs. And I think this is my closest one, as it was 22-17 Chiefs. They ended up winning. So that prediction was
nice.
A good Sunday night of football. I mean, still there are some I think, controversy on this game, as there was a clear pass interference call that should have been called, but ended up not being called on the Chiefs. And I swear, if you have a Chiefs uniform, you're just not going to get any penalties called on you. Going into the Monday Night Football games, Jaguars versus Bills, I said the prediction 34-17 Bills. I thought they would crush it, and they did, as the final was 47-10. The Bills won. So that prediction was
nice.
And so, I mean, the Bills is crushed. Josh Allen now putting him in that MVP conversation. I think that he'll probably be the MVP this season. Playing amazing, getting that 47-point mark for the Bills. Just great game overall. Jags, they need to figure something out. Doug Peterson will probably be fired in a few weeks, just being honest, based off of the statistics. And moving on to the next, Commanders versus Bengals. I thought the Bengals were going to get their first win on the season, and my prediction was 24-20. The Bengals were going to win, and it ended up being that the final was 38-33. The Commanders ended up winning, and it just wasn't the way that I predicted it. As the Commanders themselves, they played a great game. So that prediction was try. And so it just wasn't the way. I mean, Commanders, they played great. Jaden Daniels showing why he should have been picked. And maybe there's this curse. I think it's actually happening because Bryce Young, not a good first overall pick, but the second pick in the draft was C.J. Stroud, who played great, and now it's Caleb Williams struggling and Jaden Daniels playing great. So maybe just pick the QB who's second on the board instead. Moving into our NFL matchups for this coming week. Tonight, Thursday Night Football, 5:15 p.m., Cowboys versus Giants. Prediction 34-20 Cowboys. I think the Cowboys are going to let up some points, but I think they'll get the win. Moving into Sunday football, 10 a.m. game, Saints versus Falcons. Prediction 27-24 Falcons. I think they'll get the win. I think the Saints are starting to fall off a little bit. They had that first two good games, but I think the Falcons will bounce back. Next is Bengals versus Panthers, and I think this is the upset of the week. I think prediction is 28-24 Panthers. A lot of you might be asking, but I do think that Andy Dalton's going to get his get back against the Bengals, and I think the Panthers, they'll end up winning this one. Next, Vikings versus Packers. I think prediction 27-20 Vikings win. I think that the Packers, I think they'll let up a win just because it's Malik Willis as the quarterback back there, not Jordan Love. And so the Vikings, they'll start off 4-0. Jaguars versus Texans. Prediction 31-14 Texans. Jaguars can't get anything done. I think the Texans will get their bounce back. Next, Steelers versus Colts. Prediction 17-14 Steelers win. The Steelers have just been on a roll. I think they'll get a stop on this Colts offense, and I don't think Anthony Richardson is going to be able to do much against that defense. Next, Broncos versus Jets. Prediction 27-14 Jets win. I don't think the Broncos are going to have much against Aaron Rodgers. Eagles versus Buccaneers. Prediction 24-21 Buccaneers win. I think this is going to be the game that they get their win again, just like they did in the playoffs last season. And so I think that they'll win barely, but 24-21 is my prediction there. Next, Commanders versus Cardinals, and my prediction for that 1 p.m. game is 24-21. The Cardinals, I believe, are going to win, and I think they'll get that bounce back. I think Jaden Daniels will have a good game. I think he'll throw a few touchdowns, but I think the Cardinals will take that one. Then Sunday Night Football, I believe Bills versus Ravens. I think the Bills are going to win. I think it's going to be a close game. I think it's going to be 31-28. Bills win in a tight game with a field goal to win it. Justin Tucker's been struggling on the field goals for the Ravens. Maybe he'll miss one tonight and lose the game for the Ravens, maybe. And moving into Monday Night Football, Titans versus Dolphins and Seahawks versus Lions. It's a doubleheader for the Titans versus Dolphins. Prediction 24-20 Titans win. Both these teams are not playing very well, and Skylar Thompson's not great, and I think the Titans defense will do pretty good. And the next game, Seahawks versus Lions, I think prediction 27-21, the Lions will win. That is our full NFL recap of last week's predictions and this week's predictions. We will have to see, as Thursday Night Football is tonight. And again, my name is Carter Kirchhevel. You're listening to Catching Up with Carter here on Saddleback College Radio, 88.5 HD2. Next, we're going to be listening to No Chains by KB, and I'll be right back. Hello and welcome back to Catching Up with Carter here with your host, Carter Kirchhevel, here on 88.5 HD2 Saddleback College Radio. Thank you so much for listening to today's show. It was very fun going through all of the NFL predictions, all the college predictions, and of course all the predictions for everything, I would say. And so it's been very, very fun, and I thank you so much for listening. Going through our predictions again for our LA teams, our prediction for the Rams is that the final score will be 24-20. The Rams will win against the Bears. Our next prediction for the Chargers, 27-7, Chiefs will win against the Chargers. Then the Raiders, we're hoping they get a bounce back, 27-24, Raiders win against the Browns. For the Niners, 31-14, the 49ers win against the Patriots. USC, we're hoping that they will get a bounce back against Wisconsin, 34-20, USC wins. And sadly for UCLA, they're playing Oregon. We're thinking that score will be 41-17. Oregon will win that one. Thank you again so much for listening to all the predictions, all of the highlights, and all of everything that we talk about here on Catching Up with Carter Kirchhevel. Next, you'll be listening to Do I Sound Like Your Dad by Francis Starr. Very good show. Check into that from 11 o'clock, or at 11 o'clock. Next, we're going to be listening to Set Me Free by Lecrae. Thank you again for listening. You're listening here on 88.5 KSBR HD2 Saddleback College Radio.